Welcome to an introduction to acceptance test-driven development. Our objectives for this short seminar are to show how acceptance test-driven development helps with communication between the business customers, the developers, and the testers. We'll cover the 5 W's. What are acceptance tests, who creates them, when they should be created, where they are used, and why you should use them. Just a brief introduction. I'm Ken Pugh, a fellow consultant with Net Objectives. I've been in software for almost half a century, doing everything from requirements to coding to testing. I've written several books, including Lean Agile Acceptance Test-Driven Development, on which this seminar is based. I consult and train on both acceptance test-driven development and test-driven development. In both cases, my key phrase is, no code goes in till the tests go on. That means you do not implement anything until you have tests that can demonstrate that the implementation works as expected. First, let's describe what are acceptance tests. They are tests from the user's point of view, the external view of the system. They examine externally visible effects and may suggest that operations that are normally hidden from direct testing, such as business rules, are exposed for that testing. Acceptance tests involve specifying the correct output of a system given a particular input. They can show how the state of something changes, such as an order that goes from paid to shipped. They can also specify the interactions with interfaces of other systems. In general, they are implementation independent, although their automation may not be. Here are some experiences with teams that have followed the acceptance test-driven process. In one case, rework went down from 60% to 20%. This meant that productivity doubled, since time for developing new features went from 40 to 80%. In other cases, the workflows were working the first time the system was brought up. Getting the business rules right, as an example we shall see, prevents rework. Because the business, customer, developer, and tester are involved in acceptance test creation, there is tighter cross-functional team integration. And finally, passing the acceptance test visibly demonstrates that the story is complete. Here is a value stream map for classical development. After eliciting requirements, they are analyzed. A design is created and code developed. Then the system is tested. You'll notice many loops back, from test back to analysis, design, and code. These loopbacks cause delay and loss of productivity. Why do they occur? Frequently, the cause is misunderstandings. In particular, misunderstanding the requirements. The loopbacks are really feedback to correct these misunderstandings. There will always be a need for feedback, but quick feedback is better than slow feedback. As you can notice on the value stream map, the acceptance tests are created when the requirements are analyzed. Then the developers code with acceptance tests. A failing acceptance test provides quick feedback that the implementation is not meeting the requirements. The tests are authored by the triad, the customer, tester, and developer. At least one example used in the test should be created by the customer working with the tester and developer. And then the tester and developer can create more and have them reviewed by the customer. The developers or technical testers then connect the test to the system by writing short bits of code. Either developers and testers can run the test. Acceptance tests can be manual. However, automating acceptance tests allows them to be run as regression tests to ensure that new features do not interfere with previously developed features. Acceptance tests are not a substitute for interactive communication between the members of the triad, but they definitely can provide a focus for that communication. The tests are specified in business domain terms. These terms then form a common language that is shared between the customers and developers. Acceptance tests are only part of the overall testing strategy. They are the customer tests that demonstrate the business intent of a system, as shown in the upper left box. The component tests, which are beneath them, are technical acceptance tests developed by the architect, which helps specify the behavior of large modules. Unit tests, the lowest left box, are partially derived from acceptance and component tests and help the developer to create easy-to-maintain code. The tests on the right, usability, exploratory, and property, examine what are often termed the non-functional aspects. They also need to pass to have a high-quality system. Here's an example of an acceptance test. The requirement of user story is, as a marketing manager, I want to give discounts to repeat customers so that I can increase repeat business. There is one detail for this story. The customer discount is computed according to Business Rule BR number 17. Here's the business rule. If a customer rating is good, well, I'll let you read it for yourself and answer one question. For a customer who is good and has an order of $50.01, what should the discount be? Well, depending on how you read the rule, you may come up with 1, 5, or 6%. The rule is ambiguous. How do we make it clearer? Come up with some examples, which turn into tests. Here's a table of examples. As shown in the third example, the discount for this case should be 1%. That's what the business customer wanted. Imagine if both the tester and developer had thought it should be 6%. The customer would have been losing money. Now, once we have these examples, we can use them as tests. These tests and the requirements are tied together. The tests help clarify the requirement, and the requirement forms the basis for the test. There are at least 4 ways that we can implement these tests. They are a testing script, which uses a user interface, a graphical or command line interface, a unit testing framework, and an accepting test framework. Let's take a brief look at each. The tester creates a testing script. For example, they log on as a good customer, start up an order, and put items into it. When the order total is $10.01, they complete the order and make sure that it shows a 10-cent discount. Now they repeat the process for the 5 other cases, increasing the possibility of carpal tunnel syndrome. This script does need to be run at least once in order to ensure that the discount is computed properly as part of the workflow. However, there are 3 other ways that we can check for the other cases. A graphical or command line interface could be created by the developers that access the module that computed the discount. The tester need only enter the customer type and the order total to determine if the discount is computed correctly. The developer could create an XUnit test as shown. This automates the testing process. However, since a test is in the language of the developer, it can be more difficult to use as a communication vehicle and to ensure that changes in the business rule have been incorporated in the test. The 4th is to use an acceptance test framework. The table shown here is from FIT, Framework for Integrated Testing. But other frameworks, such as Cucumber and Robot Framework, have similar tables. The table becomes a test and is tied to the underlying system through glue code called a fixture. When the test is run, the results of the system appear in the table. Green is a pass, red is a fail. As you can see, the underlying implementation did not compute the 3rd example correctly. Our objectives were to show the who, what, when, where, and why of acceptance test-driven development, and how it can help improve the customer-developer-tester communication. We gave a short example of how requirements are tested and test a requirement. And for more information, you can go to the websites listed. Thank you very much.
Thanks for watching this Lightning webinar brought to you by NetObjectives. We're committed to equipping our clients with effective business-driven software development methods so they can be more successful. Please let us know how we could help you. Visit us at www.netobjectives.com.